What transforms through effort returns through effort, but what changes through consciousness stays. This phrase holds a powerful code that few truly understand. Most people spend their lives trying to change the outer world, forcing, resisting, fighting against their own circumstances. But there is a silent truth, almost forgotten, that shifts the entire logic of reality. Real change doesn't happen out there. It begins within. And more than that, it doesn't require effort. It requires presence. Today, you'll realize that your life has never been shaped by situations, but by the way you observe them. Everything that feels stuck, blocked, or stagnant can dissolve, not through more struggle, but through more clarity. The key lies in shifting your point of observation. The way you look at something changes the field in which that thing exists. It may seem subtle, but it's one of the most powerful laws of consciousness. When the observer shifts, the observed transforms. Maybe you've been trying to fix, solve, or control something for a long time, and nothing seems to change. The good news is, you don't need more strength nor more urgency. You just need to open. Today, you'll understand why reality responds to your vibration, and how any situation, no matter how difficult it may seem, can reorganize itself when there is space, presence, and awareness. Reality reflects. It doesn't resist. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. You don't like the expression on your face, so you start arguing with the reflection. You yell, get frustrated, do everything to change the image, but it stays the same. Because it's not the reflection you can change, it's the original. It's you. This is the great mistake of many seekers, trying to change reality without realizing it has no will of its own. Reality doesn't resist you. It simply reflects who you are being right now. When you try to control, life responds with rigidity. When you push, it shuts down. But when you open, something magical starts to happen. Situations begin to realign. And not because you made it work, but because you got out of the way. The rigidity of reality is almost always a response to your inner state of contraction. And the flow you long for doesn't come from trying to force things. It comes from your ability to let go with awareness. This principle is present both in ancient spiritual traditions and in quantum physics discoveries. The field of possibilities, what many call the quantum field, doesn't react to your actions. It responds to your vibration, to your internal coherence. Life is like a river. It knows where to go. But if you try to push the water with your hands, all you do is stir up turbulence. Only when you allow the flow to move through you does it begin to guide you. Notice, in the moments when you were relaxed, present, at peace, how often did things seem to resolve on their own? A problem that dissolved without explanation. An answer that came out of nowhere. A perfect synchronicity. Those moments weren't coincidences. They were reflections of your inner state. When there is space within you, reality finds space to move. What few realize is that reality isn't fixed and solid. It's a living, shifting field shaped by vibration. The mind used to control wants quick, logical, visible results. But consciousness operates on another rhythm. It transforms by resonance. You don't change the world by changing the world. You change the world by changing the field in which the world appears. When you resist something, you reinforce it. The problem grows because your energy is feeding it. But when you observe without judgment, without tension, without haste, the field rebalances itself. Reality collapses where there is space. Creation happens where there is presence. The more you let go, the more the universe responds. Not with what you think you need, but with what resonates with your frequency. That's why trying to solve something with the same energy that created the problem never works. You just spin in circles. Reality isn't testing you, it's mirroring you. And when you shift the inner mirror, when you stop the fight and choose presence, the external scenario begins to change effortlessly. Letting go of control isn't surrendering to chaos. It's trusting the intelligence of the field. It's recognizing that there is an order beyond the mind, a flow beyond your plans, a wisdom that doesn't respond to urgency, but to your vibration. Reality has never been your enemy. It is a gentle echo of what you hold within, and you can change everything without forcing anything, the moment you consciously choose to vibrate from a new place. What keeps the situation stuck is the way you're looking at it. Have you ever considered that maybe what's keeping a situation from changing isn't the situation itself, but the way you're looking at it? It may sound too simple at first glance, but it carries one of the most powerful keys to conscious transformation. The way you observe something, the energy with which you perceive, interpret, and react, directly shapes how that thing behaves in your field of reality. There's an unconscious habit of keeping your attention locked on the problem. The mind tries to understand, fix, anticipate. It analyzes, relives, and projects the worst-case scenario. But there's a hidden side effect. By keeping constant focus on something you perceive as negative, you're feeding that field with your vital energy. You're not just observing, you're sustaining the frequency that keeps it alive. Often we think we're working on a solution, when in truth we're only reinforcing the presence of the problem. It's like staring at a dark cloud, hoping the sky will clear, without realizing that your attention on the cloud is blocking the sunlight. What you resist persists, and what you observe with awareness transforms. Changing the way you observe something doesn't require physical effort. It doesn't need complex plans or mental strategies. It only needs a small internal shift, a space, a pause, a different gaze. One moment of true presence can do more to dissolve a conflict than hours of struggle. Consciousness is subtle, but powerful. It works beyond linear logic. It breaks repetitive patterns simply by illuminating what was previously running on autopilot. And here's a question that can shift everything. What if what you call a blockage is just a reflection of how you're looking at it? What changes if you stop seeing that situation as a fixed obstacle and start seeing it as a mirror of your current vibration? This isn't about self-blame, it's about self-liberation. Because if the problem depends on your gaze, then the solution is within reach of your awareness. Let's take a subtle but profound example. Imagine someone who constantly feels rejected. In every situation, they already expect not to be chosen, not to be heard, not to be seen. The world responds because the way they observe each interaction is already saturated with that vibrational expectation. The gaze carries the filter of rejection, and reality mirrors it. But if at some point this person shifts their focus, if they stop looking for signs of rejection and start anchoring into presence, wholeness, self-acceptance, the mirror changes. The outer world begins to reorganize. Nothing needs to be forced. All that's needed is for your way of seeing to become more open, lighter, less conditioned. When you remove the label from the experience, the flow returns. What you once called a problem reveals itself as an invitation to vibrational alignment, a call from reality to shift within. And it's not about pretending everything is fine, it's about observing with awareness, without carrying the weight of resistance, about stepping out of reaction mode and into the space of the lucid observer. That inner space, that vibrational stillness, is where blockages dissolve and possibilities blossom again. Everything changes when you change your gaze. Everything flows when your focus opens. And everything that seems stuck begins to dissolve naturally. Because you stopped feeding it with the energy of tension. You chose consciousness. And consciousness doesn't force, it transforms. The invisible key, your vibrational state. There is something within you more powerful than any technique, action, or plan, your vibrational state. It's invisible to the eyes, yet absolutely decisive behind the scenes of reality. Everything you experience is being influenced, not by what you think on the surface, but by what you continuously vibrate. Your energy field is like a silent signature that communicates with the universe at all times, even when you don't say a single word. Many believe they must wait for things to improve before they can feel good, that they need results in order to finally feel peace. But the natural movement of the universe is the opposite. First comes the state, then the manifestation. Vibration is the cause, and reality is the effect. Days when everything flows are not lucky days. They're days when, consciously or not, you were in an internal state of openness, trust, alignment. Think back to a moment when everything just clicked. People were kind, ideas flowed, answers came at the right time. You didn't force anything, and precisely because of that, everything happened. That wasn't an exception. It was a direct reflection of your vibrational state at that moment. Maybe you were more present. Maybe your mind was quiet. Maybe without realizing it, you stopped resisting, and that created space for the universe to flow through you. Your vibrational state is like the soil where your experiences take root. If the soil is heavy with fear, lack, and doubt, even the strongest seed will struggle to grow. But if the soil is clear and nourished with elevated emotions like gratitude, love, and acceptance, everything blooms with ease. And here's the most amazing part. You don't even need to know how. The vibration handles that. There is a deep intelligence that works beyond logic. It listens to your vibration, not your words. That's why so many people say they want something, yet live the opposite. They want abundance, but vibrate scarcity. They want love, but vibrate protection. They want freedom, but vibrate control. It's not the desire that creates. It's the frequency you maintain while desiring. The good news is, you don't have to wait for big external changes to shift your vibrational state. It can change now, with something as simple as breathing consciously, being present in your body, being grateful for what's already working, recognizing what already is. Small actions that shift the field. And when the field changes, reality begins to reorganize by resonance. This is the secret ancient mystics knew, and that energetic science now confirms. Everything vibrates, everything resonates, everything responds. You are both transmitter and receiver, and your current frequency is the filter through which life flows. Change the state, and everything around you begins to align with that new vibration. There is nothing more transformational than this quiet turning point. To realize that your inner state holds more creative power than any external effort. When you enter coherence, the universe recognizes it. It understands what you are now ready to receive, and what once felt distant begins to approach, without struggle, without haste, without force. Vibration precedes change. It is the invisible code that connects you to a reality that's already available, just waiting for a new state to manifest. The mistake that blocks everything, trying to change without changing your frequency. There is a kind of effort that, instead of moving life forward, keeps it exactly where it is. It's the effort disconnected from vibration. The most common mistake on the path of transformation is believing that doing more, acting more, running faster is enough, as if reality were a mathematical equation based on effort alone. But life, at its deepest level, doesn't respond to force. It responds to frequency. How many times have you deeply wanted something, but felt like you were pushing against an invisible wall? You visualize, affirm, plan, but beneath it all, there's a subtle tension, a sense of fear, of lack. This internal contradiction is exactly what blocks the flow. The universe doesn't only pick up on what you want, it picks up on what you vibrate while wanting. It's like trying to tune into a soft melody on a static-filled frequency. The music is available, but you're on the wrong station. You want peace, but you're vibrating anxiety. You want freedom, but you're vibrating control. You want love, but you're vibrating fear of not being enough. And as long as that incoherence exists, the field around you remains confused, closed off, stuck. The problem isn't in the desire. Desiring is natural. The mistake is in trying to force the manifestation without aligning your inner state. It's like expecting a plant to bloom while watering it with impatience and doubt every day. The seed feels it, the field feels it, and reality responds not to what you try to prove, but to what's truly alive within you. Quantum physics has shown us that the observer affects the behavior of the particle. But what few people understand is that this observer isn't just the one who looks with the eyes. It's the one who vibrates with their being. Your consciousness, your emotion, your subtle state, all of this is part of the field that collapses possibilities. And when there's a conflict between what you think and what you vibrate, the universe follows the vibration. So acting in desperation, racing against time, trying to convince reality to change, all of that becomes pointless when the vibrational foundation is misaligned. Frequency is the foundation. If it can't hold what you're trying to build, the structure collapses. And the more you try to fix things in a rush, the further you drift from the natural flow of creation. What truly creates change is not the intensity of your action, but the purity of your vibration. When you're in coherence, even the smallest step holds power. When you're out of alignment, even the biggest moves feel fruitless. There is intelligence in the universe that doesn't respond to struggle, it responds to harmony, and that harmony begins with you. From the moment you understand this, a new possibility opens. To stop trying to change everything out there and start tending to your frequency. To come into resonance with the peace you wish to live. To breathe as if you're already where you want to be. To think, feel, and act like someone who already knows the field is working in their favor. True change happens when you no longer try to convince life to give you something. You simply become compatible with it. And that's not effort, it's alignment. It's resonance, it's awareness. Because in the end, it's not your urgency that moves the universe. It's your frequency that guides it. Selective focus, how to shift the lens of perception. The human mind can be a powerful healer or a pattern repeater, and the difference lies in the lens through which you observe life. That lens is your focus, what you choose to see, even unconsciously. And focus, contrary to what many believe, doesn't reveal reality as it is. It reveals reality as you're vibrating. You don't see what exists, you see what you're ready to see. Perception isn't a neutral window to the world. It's a vibrational filter that shapes your experience. This explains why two people can go through the same situation and interpret it in completely different ways. One sees crisis, the other sees opportunity. One feels fear, the other sees a sign of expansion. The difference isn't in the situation, it's in the frequency of the observer. The mind, like a radio, tunes in to what it's vibrating. If you're tuned to a frequency of lack, it's only natural that all you notice is what's missing. Even if abundance surrounds you, it becomes invisible. If you're vibrating in protection, the world will appear dangerous, even if everything is calm. And this selectivity creates a cycle. You focus on what you fear, see what you fear, feel more fear, and reinforce the same focus. That's why changing your focus is one of the most powerful practices there is. Not because you'll deny reality, but because you'll adjust the lens to perceive what's already available, but previously unseen. The shift begins with a simple yet transformative question. What in this situation is still flowing? This question breaks the mind's automatic habit of always looking for what's wrong. It opens a vibrational doorway. Even in the midst of chaos, there's always a point of flow. It might be a new idea, a friend who showed up, a quiet sign that something is aligning. When you focus on that, something subtle happens. The field shifts. Focus works like an energetic amplifier. What you observe with presence begins to grow, and what you ignore or observe without attachment begins to lose strength. This is one of the most direct mechanisms of conscious manifestation. The lens you choose defines the kind of reality you are co-creating now. This isn't about superficial positive thinking. It's about vibrational alchemy. You're constantly converting possibilities into experiences, and the filter you choose determines which ones become visible. Changing the lens doesn't mean forcing optimism. It means opening yourself to a broader, less conditioned vision, one more connected to the intelligence of the field. You can train this perception. Start by observing your day and asking, where is life flowing? What's working, even if it seems small? What signs are going unnoticed because my mind is caught in the narrative of the problem? Each time you do this, you deactivate the mind's fear-based programming and activate a new field of perception, a field where other answers, solutions, and synchronicities exist. The lens shifts, and with it, the world you see transforms. Intelligent surrender. How to release control and enter the flow. Letting go of control is not giving up. It's recognizing that there's a greater intelligence operating behind the scenes of life, and the more you try to force the river, the more you stray from its natural course. There's a kind of surrender that isn't weakness, but silent strength. A form of yielding that isn't defeat, but connection. To surrender to the flow is a vibrational act of courage. It's creating space for the universe to do what the mind alone cannot. Control is born of fear. The mind wants certainty, wants to anticipate, wants to protect itself from pain. But this attempt to dominate life creates tension, blockage, stagnation. When you're trying to control something, you're actually resisting what is. And where there is resistance, there is no room for the new. The creative flow requires trust. It needs an open channel, not one trying to predict every drop of water. Intelligent surrender happens when you understand there's a point where effort ends and alignment begins. That some situations only unlock when you stop insisting. And letting go doesn't mean abandoning your desires. It means freeing them from the prison of anxiety. What's aligned with your vibration doesn't need to be forced. It simply happens. Synchronicity takes care of timing. Life takes care of direction. Imagine a flower trying to force itself to bloom before its time. Its petals tear. Its fragrance doesn't emerge. It hurts itself trying to rush what only unfolds through wisdom's timing. Likewise, when you force life, it retracts. But when you quiet down, observe with presence, and allow, it blossoms. And what once seemed impossible emerges with an almost magical ease. This is the art of surrender, being present without gripping, desiring without depending, acting without being consumed by the outcome. It's seeing reality as a living field of possibilities, not an obstacle to be conquered. When you trust the flow, even without knowing how things will unfold, something within you softens. And that softening is a clear signal to the universe. You are ready. The mind screams for control, but the heart whispers surrender. And it's that whisper that leads the greatest transformations. Not because you gave up, but because you aligned with the frequency where everything flows. Sometimes life asks you to pause, to stop chasing and start becoming compatible with what you desire. Because the more you let go, the more reality aligns with your essence. And the more you try to control, the more life protects what's not yet ready to be received. Letting go is a sacred act. It's you saying to the universe, I trust. I don't need to understand everything now. I don't need to see the whole path. I just need to stay present, open, available. And it's in that space, that fertile soil of trust, that reality begins to respond. Not with effort, but with flow. Not with noise, but with synchronicity. What blooms through force is not natural. What blooms through stillness is eternal. We've reached the end of this journey, but perhaps for you, this is actually the beginning, because now you know. It's not the scene that transforms the observer. It's the observer who transforms the scene. Life doesn't change when you push, pressure, or control. It changes when you change the way you see, feel, and vibrate in its presence. Reality doesn't need to be fixed. It needs your awareness. And you don't have to solve everything today. You just need to breathe more consciously, create space within yourself, and allow life to reorganize in response to your new state. The question that echoes is simple, yet powerful. How will you observe your life from now on? Perhaps the answer lies in silence, in the space between one thought and the next, in the moment you choose to trust more and force less, because it's through that new gaze that reality begins to bloom, naturally, effortlessly, truthfully,